What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to cover gold stocks, gold mining stocks. We're going to do some technical analysis on a lot of different companies and look at different time frames of the charts and try to anticipate where these gold stocks are heading. I know that a lot of followers of mine probably are very interested in gold stocks since I've been advocating for Barrick Gold essentially for about a year and a half. And that trade has been a pretty much a monster trade so far. So we'll cover that, and we'll cover some of these other ones, and try to anticipate where these things are heading. So let's get right into it. But give me a thumbs up if you guys appreciate my analysis on these gold stocks. If you find a flaw in my analysis, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think, what I'm missing. If you see something that I'm missing, I think it's helpful. So thank you for the constructive criticism if you have some. All right, getting right into it. Let's look at gold futures, GC, and this is the most current contract. This is what I see happening right now. I see that we had a bearish rising wedge. Not a huge wedge. This is on the hourly time frame, and basically we broke to the downside, not impulsively, but then you can see we all kind of did a little back test, didn't fully back test, then it started to break again. So to me, it looks weak, just temporarily. I mean, this is an hourly chart. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a pullback. We could be in some sort of a larger consolidation range, maybe with the top up around here. I don't have I only have one data point to make the top up there, so don't consider that a valid trend line or anything. But I do see, if we head down, I think we find support right down here at 1673. You can see that was played into resistance here, tag reaction there, and then it was support right here, here, and then again support again. So if we're going to head down, we got major support right there. So that would be where that's where I think we're going in the short term. Just given the bearish rising wedge and the breakdown that we saw, I think we head down here. And bigger picture though, gold is in a bull market. So dips, falls or dips down to support should be bought. Basically, is how I personally treat bull markets. I buy at support. So I add to positions or reestablish positions at support. Moving on, let's look at gold bullion. And gold bullion, this is a weekly chart. I just want to point out we're making a series of higher highs and higher lows. So here's a low, low, higher low, higher low. You can see as it stair steps its way up, and that's indicative of the bull market that gold is in. And then we have the breakout right here. This was your breakout. So we have a high, higher high, higher high, and then just this week a new higher high, a close on the weekly. So nice strong close on gold bullion for the week. Nice positive build to the bull market, and as of now, the weekly looks like it's going to continue. When I go to the daily, I have really the hourly. Looks like we've got this kind of triangle pattern resolving. And these patterns, when you have kind of this basing top, or you have resistance right up here, but then you're able to continue to make higher lows. Usually this is consolidating, it's coiling, and it breaks to the upside. That's typically how the pattern resolves. And so that's what I see. I see gold bullion breaking to the upside. And basically, we've got on the weekly chart, going back to 2011, we've got this major resistance right up here, kind of a double top. I'm throwing out this all-time high just because that was just kind of your blow-off top right there. That was your your momentum field blow-off top that basically shot us straight up there. So I see the resistance really sitting there at 1788. I think that's where gold wants to go. It wants to go tag that and then have some sort of a pullback. That's what this chart tells me it wants to do. So I think we tag it, pull back, consolidate a little bit more, and then most likely, probability says over time, I don't know what the time frame is, could be a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows. Probably not that long, but I think we break out to the upside and start another longer bull market, maybe something that, looks like this, where we just make, a long-term bull market breakout and run up to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Who knows where it's going. So that's what I see in gold bullion. Let's look at Barrick Gold. This is one of my favorites. And again, I'll just cover fundamentally why I like this one over some of the others. One, they're a major gold mining place, so they have a lot of liquidity. They've got money. They have staying power, economies of scale that you get with the large miners, and they're essentially a leveraged proxy on gold bullion. So you can play those with less risk, I guess. The junior miners have a lot of reward and a lot of risk. The majors have less risk, less reward, of course, but at the same time, you can lever up or, take larger positions. So I like that. And then I like this one over Newmont because it's not indexed in the S&P 500. Newmont is included in the S&P 500. So any kind of drawdowns or big sales that we get in the S&P 500, if we are in a bear market, Newmont stock will be sold with those indices. And even though, people might be buying the stock Newmont directly, the indices will be selling, whereas Barrick won't have any headwinds of the indices selling. So because it's not included in the S&P 500. So it's a big player, just like Newmont, but not indexed. And that's why I prefer it primarily. All right, so let's look at the chart here. All right, so this is a daily chart. Nice clean uptrend on the daily. Bull market action is what we're seeing. But when I go into the hourly, here's what we got. It's a rising channel. You could say it's kind of starting to wedge. It's a very narrow slope for that wedge. So to me, it seems more like a rising channel. And so I'm going to continue to play this as a rising price channel. So I sold my Barrick right up here at 28.30, right in that area on this big rip day here, because we ran into major resistance on the daily chart. If I go to the daily and I scroll out, here's your major resistance. You can see the cluster right here. We had a cluster of days where it held and then it broke. Nice impulsive break. So I figured that was a good area. And then if I roll it on back, you can see that was a major level of support for a long time. And then it was support again right here. And then it broke. So I figured we'd at least have some sort of a reaction at that level. And if we zoom in, you can see we we just ran right up to it, overshot it just barely, and then it held as resistance and we sold off. And since then, all we've done is kind of gone sideways. So I'm looking to probably buy back my position at the bottom of the support of this channel right here, 26. We'll probably get it tomorrow. I think I might get a shot at it on Monday down at 26.55-ish, depending on that. So depending on where the market wants to go Monday, we could even gap down. And then I'll have to watch it. If it gaps down and wants to just sell off, then I think that would be a break of this channel. And that's usually how those breaks come. You get them in gaps because you have to trap that bullish money. So if it gaps down and starts to sell off, then I see support at 22.63. I get that from, you can see you had a reaction here. And if I go to the daily chart, I think there was a gap at some point. Yeah, right here. So there's a gap right here. And then that held. We peaked out right there. Reaction there. Again, another reaction. So I think this it was a breakout of the level, but a lot of the time when you get breakouts, it was a breakout of this big long range. See this big long range right here on the daily chart? Well, we broke out of that range right here in this price action. And so that sets us up for trading up into the higher ranges, up here even up to $54. And I do think that's where we are heading on Barrick. I think we're going to move into this trading range up in here. But usually what happens, or sometimes what happens, I guess, when you get the breakout, you get the people who take that breakout and they chase it. And then usually what you do is you come back and back test the breakout range before actually establishing major support and then starting to move higher. So I could easily see us breaking this channel, heading down to around the 2250-ish range, and then finding support and then moving higher. So I will definitely be a buyer down in there if we get there. But I think I'll take a shot at this channel as well. If we come down to here at 26.50, I'll probably take a shot at buying some right there and see if we want to run up and pop this high again before maybe breaking down. So that's Barrick. Long term, it looks very good. Let's look at Newmont and figure I'd cover that one. So Newmont, here's a daily chart. Again, looks a lot like Barrick, just a rising price channel. If I go to the hourly here, just a nice clean channel, really. So there's nothing bearish about this right now. It's just rising in a price channel, pretty steep price channel. We do have, looks like we do have some divergence on the RSI, where you have right here. So you do have some divergence on the RSI on the daily chart. So maybe that's setting us up for an imminent reversal. Oh, and that's another thing I want to point out. Look at the daily chart. It's very possible that we break this channel to the downside. It doesn't mean we're going to, but we have a doji candle right here. Here's your gravestone, or this is a shooting star doji right there. And that just basically is a candle pattern of indecision. It just shows that there's a possible reversal coming. And what you want to see is some sort of follow through. So we don't want to see a break to the, you don't want to, if it's going to reverse right here, then it shouldn't really get above the high of that doji, the wick right there. It should just break down. So that might come in the form of a gap down. We don't know, but that dojis aren't, they're just a setup basically. You look at them, you see them, you know they're there, then you wait for some sort of confirmation. So a breakdown, a big gap down, that would be confirmation that that doji was a reversal candle. But without that, it's just a possible setup. It's not an actual actionable trade. And then also Barrick has a nice doji too. Going back real quick, look at the daily. See that doji, that shooting star reversal candle. And so if Barrick can't get above here and make another high, then it will probably break down in the form of a gap down or something. So just keep an eye out for that. Doesn't mean it's going to have to play out, but and then Newmont is, breaking 52 week highs. I mean, everything looks bullish. So I don't see any real resistance in Newmont until we get to going back, trying to find it. There's a breakout level right there. You can see it lines up, and we'll draw that out. Okay, so we could easily get a pullback down to this, maybe a gap down, break down to this, find some support, then move higher. Or this could be a false breakout and we could have a bigger pullback. We don't know. All right, let's look at Kirkland Lake. Someone wanted me to look at this. So here's what I see in Kirkland Lake. Here's an hourly candle, bearish rising wedge. That's what I see. We do not have divergence on the hourly. Let's look at the daily. No real divergences on the daily. But again, chart pattern is a bearish rising wedge. We're up near the high. So, I think we're probably going to sell off some in this minor and break down. And, again, the chart just tells me it's not a huge pattern, but, maybe you break down to something like that. So a very weak pullback is the measured target. And that's usually how it is when you're in a bull market. You get weak pullbacks. So even when you have bearish patterns, they just don't play out for major moves down. So, but bearish rising wedge is there, so I see that. And let's look at support and resistance levels on this. Yeah, longer term also going back, we have this rising price channel. So this thing's been in a bull market since 2016. I guess it is started trading back in 2015. So it's been a bull market. We broke that. Look at the gap down, big gap down, sell off. This could be a bear market rally in this stock. It is setting up in a bearish rising wedge. So again, we could be moving lower in this stock. And we'll just have to continue to watch it. If Gold's had a really good run so far. Maybe it's due for a little bit of a pullback. There maybe is some support there. Maybe it pulls back, consolidates, and then moves higher. We just don't know. Agnico Eagle. So I personally traded this one when we crashed back here. I bought that and rode it all the way up to the top here, and I sold some here at the gap entry, sold a little bit more at gap fill, and then I'm out of that. So, you know, you can see the gap right here. That was the trade, and it played out nicely for, you know, I bought it somewhere right around there. So I caught, you know, at the very high 67% profit, and at some of my trade with gap entry 48% profit. So pretty good there. This one is, if I go to the hourly, I mean, you got this big range right here. This is a big trading range, and we're right there at the high of it. So I think we're probably going to have we're going to have to battle, I think, in this range a little bit. It's going to probably pull back, chop a little bit, maybe get a little choppy, and try to figure out where it wants to go next. On the daily, yeah, I mean, we're just right there, right into resistance. So we could easily have a breakdown of this upward rising price channel here. It is kind of a bearish rising wedge. We could break down and come back down and retest this gap right here at 53.66. That would be probably a very objective area to add to the position or start a position. So that's what I see there. And then if you look at the RSI on the daily, pretty overbought, up around 80. So a lot of money has chased into this, into these gold miners. And, you know, I typically look to get out of these things when everyone else is trying to rush in. You know, when everyone has rushed in and they've had a huge move, that's usually when I like to take my money and run. And this, believe me, from the bottom is up almost 100. It's almost doubled. You know, it's almost 100% since March 13th. So 6 weeks and it's gone up 100%. That's a pretty substantial move. Of course, it crashed right here. So. But, yeah, that's what I see on this. It could consolidate within this range, build up some momentum, and then break out to all-time new highs. It could easily do that. Or we could pull back, test the gap, find some support, and then break out to all-time new highs. Either way, still bullish on this. Just looking for the near-term price action. Pan American Silver. We'll get into silver here in a second. Here's Franco-Nevada Corp. Hourly chart, bearish rising wedge right here. And basically, you know, we broke down a little bit out of this wedge, but then instantly recovered it, gapped up. So that's why I put this wedge. Here's a breakdown where it gapped down and recovered it. So I think this is the wedge that makes sense. And we're really close to the apex where this thing's about to make a decision on where it wants to go. So it could easily break down slightly. And where does it go to? Well, you know, I'd say, you know, you got the consolidation range right here. So a breakdown to there would make sense. You know, somewhere right in here around 100, 125, 126. That would be a pretty decent breakdown, and probably find some support and then move higher. So again, you can see these things are still in a bull market. You know, higher lows, higher highs. It's a bull market. AngloGold Ashanti. Bearish rising wedge here. We broke to the upside. I've said this in a lot of my videos. When we get this kind of pattern right here where you break to the upside of a bigger bearish pattern, oftentimes that's your fake out move, and you know, you'll get some sort of a gap down and then a big sell off, maybe down below the wedge. So that doesn't mean it's going to play out, but that's what I see. Now this wedge, though, I don't have a lot of reactions. I've got reaction here, and then we broke out those. So an impulsive candle right there. But then we impulsive candle, and then look at the reactions that it was holding support right there. So I think that's good. I'm going to treat this one like a bearish rising wedge, and usually when I see this pattern where it breaks above, usually it breaks down. So that's what I see. Could have a breakdown there, and let's go to the daily, figure out where we got some support. Yeah, I mean, major support right there at 23.52. So could easily just gap down and break down and find some major support there. Or if it fails right there and we start to sell off, we'll have to evaluate that. I'll just have to reevaluate this if we get that breakdown move. Goldfields, GFI. All right, so this one, same kind of pattern it looks like as AngloGold Ashanti, bearish rising wedge, reaction here, reaction cluster right there, and then on the bottom, reaction, reaction, reaction. So you can see nice formation, and this one's just kind of treading water right there on the upper end. So to me, that's an objective short area really where it wants to sell off. I'm not interested in shorting gold mining stocks right now because gold and the gold miners are in a bull market. I don't want to short a bull market. And so what I'm looking more for is areas to buy, add to positions, or enter a new position. So if this one wants to break down, we could easily come down. Let's look at the daily, figure out what we're going to break down to. Yeah, probably somewhere right in there. This one, the chart's not that clean, but something like that. You can see lots of reactions around there, and then, you know, it was resistance right in this area. Kind of overshot it a little bit, so it's kind of more of a range. We could just say it's a range like that, but we could break down and sell off down to this $6 to, you know, $6.50 to $6, somewhere right in there is probably your support range. All right, let's move on to gold, or silver, sorry. Silver. So I'm not as interested in silver and silver miners as I am gold and gold miners. I prefer the pure play, but obviously there can be a lot of money to be made here. So let's take a look. Silver, so we've got this big downward trend line here on the daily. We broke down with a big old gap. See, we held right there and then it gapped down. So that just validates that trend line. And if we move it down, just extend it out a little bit. We broke above. Looks like we're pulling back to support and then probably going to break higher. So that's what I see there in SLV. Let's look at the hourly here. Yeah, we're just kind of flagging out, basically, bull flagging. So maybe it runs down and tags this support again at 1330 and then break higher. But looks like a bull flag. Looks like it wants to break higher. You know, you've got the flag right here. So we're kind of just flagging out and it should break to the upside. That's what I see in SLV. Let's look at PAAS, Pan American, and that's probably the last silver. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. You'll see here bearish rising wedge in PAS. Lots of reactions. You've got 3 on the upper end, 1, 2, 3, and then lots along the lower end. So maybe run up and tag resistance, but ultimately this is a bearish pattern setting up for a pullback. So I think we pull back, you know, or if it breaks down out of that pattern, there's a nice right there, nice support line right there, and I'm sure this rolls back. Yep. See how it resistance, support. Okay, and then down here it got super choppy when we were in like crash mode. But bearish pattern, if we break to the downside, there's your support right around 1542. And that's really what I see in that one. So that's it, guys. That's all I got for gold miners. Thought I'd just do a full video on that. I hope you find some value here. Again, leave a comment and give me a thumbs up if you're finding some sort of value in the content, and I'll continue pumping out the videos. Catch you guys next time. Bye.